The hijack of the Galaxy Leader by Houthi rebels seems to be a sort of repeat of the sort of piracy that we saw of Somalia in recent decades. And I think probably it's going to be symptomatic of what will happen in future. It's a way of exerting pressure on countries, on companies, on individuals. And in this case, all three seem to be in play. The really unusual thing about this particular hijacking is that the Houthi rebels who conducted the hijack actually went down onto the boat from onto the ship from a helicopter. We've seen in the past Somali pirates climbing up the side of ships and things like that, but it's the first time we've seen a helicopter assault on a merchant ship in order to hijack it. The Houthi rebels have access to what I would call national-grade weapons systems and also training and operational experience. They've been in an extended war with Saudi Arabia for quite some time now. They've struck various targets in Saudi Arabia with ballistic and cruise missiles. They've also attempted to strike Israel with cruise missiles recently. So there's a level of sophistication and access to modern weapons that we wouldn't expect from an insurgent group, for example. There's a civil war going on in Yemen. They have access to very high-grade weapons, but they are essentially regional in their focus. And this hijack has taken place in the Red Sea, in the southern part, and that's probably well within their area of operations, and we can expect to see more in future. Since the Somali piracy issue has gone away, a lot of merchant ship companies have not tended to use security companies or anything like that. And so I would think this particular ship was unguarded, didn't have any particular armed response. They probably had a safe room and the ability to lock themselves in the bridge or somewhere else, but nothing more. The significant issue about this particular hijacking is we're probably going to see the return of private military security companies at sea in order to protect merchant ships from the threat of this sort of assault in future. Well, the merchant shipping seascape, if you like, is a very complex one. If you look at the Galaxy Leader, this particular vessel, it's flagged in the Bahamas. It's owned by a British company, but it has links to an Israeli gentleman called Abraham Ungar. He actually had a ship attacked in the Gulf a couple of years ago by the Iranians. And so this is a very complex picture. And if you look at Lloyd's of London, you can see all the beneficial interests involved in all these shipping companies. And I suspect that was the basis for the Houthis from Yemen actually targeting this vessel. But if you look at the crew, it's probably an international crew. You'll find registration papers in all sorts of countries. The insurance will be in another one. And it is very difficult sometimes in this complex mosaic of ownership, interest, and beneficial interest to actually determine who at any stage owns or indeed is leasing the ship. This particular ship was being leased by a Japanese company, for example. I think a lot of these groups in the Middle East, like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, have a loose affiliation to what is going on in Tehran. That they essentially are the armed regional wings of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Although they don't take direct sort of command orders from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, I suspect that they are coordinated. One of the surprising things about the Hamas attack on southern Israel is that it wasn't coordinated with Hezbollah and some of the other groups. And I think a lot is going to come out on about that. In this case, the Houthis probably said, look, we want to contribute to the war against Israel. What can we do? And I would think the Iranian Revolutionary Guard said, well, what have you got? And they said, well, we've got our missiles and we can start taking action against identifiable ships that pass by the coast of Yemen in the same way the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps do in the Gulf of Oman and the Straits of Hormuz. I think what will change as a result of this, you'll see an increased presence by NATO and free world warships in the region, and the return of private military security companies offering protection to these vessels as they transit through waters that are likely to be infested by this sort of potential attack. I think the key thing to look at here is that the Houthi rebels came by helicopter. They came well armed. These are not just Somali pirates with the odd sort of rifle. They're going to come with automatic weapons and quite significant training and capability as well.